The highly publicized federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs has concluded, resulting in a mixed verdict that has sent shockwaves throughout the entertainment world. While the hip-hop mogul was found guilty on 2 counts related to transporting individuals for prostitution, he was acquitted of the more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. Amidst the legal fallout, an illuminating remark attributed to a juror, stating they tried to paint him a criminal freak, provides a valuable insight into the jury's perspective on the prosecution's often graphic and sensationalized approach to the case. This juror's comment, though not officially attributed to a named individual, succinctly captures a prevailing sentiment, likely shared by those tasked with determining Combs's fate, that the prosecution sought to portray him not merely as someone who broke the law, but as a morally corrupt and aberrant individual, whose entire lifestyle was intrinsically criminal. The prosecution's unyielding narrative of depravity. Over the course of several weeks, federal prosecutors in Manhattan meticulously constructed their case against Combs. Their primary objective was to paint him as the orchestrator of a criminal enterprise, a powerful and influential figure, who allegedly leveraged his considerable wealth and status to coerce and exploit women, thereby engaging in a sustained pattern of illicit activities. A central pillar of their argument revolved around vivid descriptions of what they termed freak-offs, or hotel nights, purported drug-fueled sex parties involving Combs, his associates, and, at times, paid male escorts. Witnesses, including his former girlfriend Cassie Ventura, and another woman identified only as Jane, delivered deeply disturbing testimonies detailing alleged incidents of forced participation, physical abuse, and psychological manipulation. The prosecution contended that Combs systematically used controlled substances and threats to maintain absolute control over his alleged victims, even going so far as to suggest he had established a kingdom where individuals were expected to cater to his illicit desires. The evidence presented to the jury was extensive, encompassing numerous phone and text records, detailed financial transactions, and even segments of explicit videos reportedly depicting these freak-off events. The most severe accusations leveled against Combs were racketeering conspiracy and 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, each carrying the potential for a life sentence. Prosecutors strategically invoked the RICO statute, a legal tool typically reserved for dismantling organized crime syndicates, in an effort to demonstrate what they claimed was Combs's deeply ingrained and long-standing pattern of criminal behavior. The defense's strategic counterpoint, a flawed man, not a master criminal. In direct opposition to the prosecution's aggressive and often sensationalized tactics, Combs's defense team adopted a markedly different strategy. While the public scrutiny and the widely circulated surveillance footage depicting Combs assaulting Cassie Ventura presented significant challenges, the defense did not shy away from acknowledging his imperfections. Instead, they made a calculated decision to concede that Combs was a flawed individual, a domestic abuser, and someone whose life was marked by toxic relationships and drug abuse issues. However, they forcefully argued that these personal failings, regardless of how regrettable they might be, did not constitute federal sex trafficking or racketeering. Their core contention was that the government was overstepping its bounds, attempting to criminalize Combs's consensual, albeit unconventional, sexual lifestyle. They repeatedly emphasized that while his actions might have been horrible, dehumanizing, violent, and terrible, as one defense attorney stated regarding the Cassie Ventura assault video, they were fundamentally acts of domestic violence, distinct from a criminal enterprise built on systematic sex trafficking. The defense, notably choosing not to call any witnesses and resting its case after a mere 30 minutes, primarily focused its efforts on cross-examining the prosecution's witnesses. Their goal was to cast doubt on the credibility of these testimonies and to demonstrate that any sexual encounters were consensual. The underlying message to the jury was unequivocal: Combs might be a bad guy, but he was emphatically not the criminal freak the government was attempting to portray. A divided verdict and lingering legal shadows. Following several weeks of emotionally charged testimony and 3 days of intense deliberations, the jury delivered a nuanced verdict on July 2, 2025. Sean Diddy Combs was found not guilty of racketeering conspiracy not guilty of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, involving Cassie Ventura, not guilty of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, involving Jane guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution, 2 counts. The acquittals on the racketeering and sex trafficking charges represent a substantial legal triumph for Combs, sparing him from the prospect of a life sentence. Nevertheless, the convictions for violating the Mann Act, which prohibits the interstate transportation of individuals for the purpose of prostitution, still carry significant legal consequences. Each count of transportation to engage in prostitution carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in federal prison, continued custody and future sentencing. Despite being cleared of the most severe accusations, Combs was denied bail and remains in custody at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Judge Arun Subramanian cited concerns about Combs's documented history of violence, specifically referencing both the 2016 assault on Cassie Ventura and a more recent alleged incident involving Jane in June 2024. Prosecutors argued that Combs's considerable wealth and the potential for him to flee, coupled with the violent nature of the crimes for which he was convicted, necessitated his continued detention. Sentencing for Sean Diddy Combs is provisionally scheduled for October 3, 2025. Prosecutors are reportedly seeking a prison sentence of approximately 4 to 5 years, while the defense aims for a term closer to 2 years. This mixed verdict, along with the inferred perspective of the juror, highlights the inherent complexities of a trial that juxtaposed a high-profile figure's controversial personal life against serious federal charges, ultimately leading to a legally intricate outcome. Combs's arduous legal journey, despite the major acquittals, is far from reaching its conclusion.